in Norway, land of the midnight sun, where for several weeks in summertime, the great orb of day never sets below the horizon of the sea. Down to the rim of the ocean descends the sun, lingering there only long enough to blend twilight into dawn, and then it rises again with all the colorful majesty of a new day. The hour is now 12 o'clock midnight, and an eerie light has fallen over the North Cape. This world-famous landmark is only a few hours flying time from the North Pole. And now, in the full light of day, we behold Hammerfest, the most northerly town in the world. This remote little settlement, depending chiefly upon fish for a livelihood, is 300 miles north of the Arctic Circle. And if it were not for the warm water of the Gulf Stream, which favors the entire coast of Norway, human life here would be unbearable. Although Norway itself is only 1,200 miles long, its winding coastline is equal to about half the circumference of the Earth, and it is dotted with communities that vary in size from large cities to tiny hamlets of 3 or more dwellings. Towering over and around these human habitations are the magnificent mountains and fjords, justifiably regarded as natural wonders of the world. Although most of the important locales of the country may be reached by very good air service, a boat trip on the fjords is a never-to-be-forgotten experience. In the vicinity of Lingan Fjord, we visit a family of Laplanders, a nomadic people who depend upon their reindeer herds for a livelihood. Since grazing and even the best pasturage fields is scanty, the reindeer do not stay long in one place. Therefore, the Laplanders are ever on the move, following the migrations of their reindeer. Reindeer meat is the principal food, and the skins are made into tents, blankets, and clothing. Some of the lap dogs are used to help herd the reindeer, while others are trained to guard the younger children. Several hundred reindeer are necessary to maintain the average family. Even the antlers of the reindeer are used in making buttons, ornaments, and household utensils. An interesting contrast with the migratory Laplanders are the Norwegian farmers, who may be living on land that has belonged to the same family for centuries. Only 4% of Norway is tillable, but agriculture is the second important source of income, and hay is one of the chief crops. The hay is hung on wire fences for quick drying, and sooner or later, every member of the family participates in this very important occupation. And here is one of the chief benefactors of the hay crop. The typical fjord horse is a distinctive breed, well adapted for service in the fjord country, and entirely different from other horses in temperament and habits. The word peasant in Norway is almost a word of distinction. for the Norwegian peasants have never been serfs. Most of them own the land upon which they live, and all of them rejoice in their freedom. In recent years, Norway has become very air-minded, and the center of this thinking is the airport at Oslo, the jumping off and landing place for planes that fly to and from the most remote parts of the country. It is also the Norwegian terminus for international service. This plane, for example, has just concluded a flight over the recently inaugurated polar route from Los Angeles to Copenhagen and Oslo, a distance of over 6,000 miles in about 24 hours. A short drive from the airport brings us to Oslo, capital and largest city in Norway. Although Oslo was founded about 1,000 years ago, very few of its original landmarks remain, and the new town is the beacon light of the city's modern development. The interior of this remarkable edifice houses a brilliant demonstration of Norwegian arts and crafts. Vying with the town hall as Oslo's chief tourist attraction is Frogner Park in the section known as Vigeland. Takes its name from Gustav Vigeland, the famous late Norwegian sculptor, who was appointed by the city of Oslo to build a park that would be different than any other park in all the world. And he certainly fulfilled his assignment. For no matter what else may be said about it, and there are many conflicting opinions, all visitors admit that it is different. For example, where in all the world can one find sculpturing such as we see here? Generally speaking, Vigeland's purpose was to depict in various forms of sculpture the human cycle from birth to death. He apparently had a complex about humanity in all its phases, and the way he threw bodies together gives us the impression that he might have been laughing a little ironically at life itself. While parents marvel at sculpturing, their children enjoy a more simple pastime on a nearby lake. About an hour's flight from Oslo lies Stavanger, second largest city on the west coast of Norway and one of the most progressive in all of Europe. Stavanger is a southern approach to Norway, and it is noted for commercial fishing and shipping of worldwide significance. The importance of the Norwegian fishing industry is illustrated by this recently completed college at Stavanger, wherein selected students are taught fish hygiene and biology, as well as the art of canning the choice sardines or brislings and kippers for which Norway is famous. And now let's go for a boat trip along the Stavanger Fjord. Although this fjord extends into towering mountains, the shores of its approaches are less spectacular, but they afford peaceful settings for modest little cottages, which illustrate the Norwegian's natural inclination towards simple living. A comfortable overnight trip in a coastal steamer brings us to Bergen, the second largest and most unique city in Norway. Bergen was one of the great ports of the Hanseatic League, which flourished throughout Europe during the 14th and 15th centuries, and most of its original architecture has either been preserved or reconstructed. Ascending the great hill behind the city is a funicular railway with colorful cars which carry passengers to and from the summit. The thrilling view from the top reveals how completely Bergen faces the sea, upon which it depends for its livelihood. From time immemorial, Norway has been a maritime nation, and although it is a comparatively small country, with only about 3.5 million inhabitants, it has the third largest merchant marine in the world. The open marketplace at Bergen is a world-famous tourist attraction, but to the native housewife, it is just a good place at which to buy fresh fish. Although fish is the featured product here, fruit and flowers also attract a fair share of the business. And all this goes on within the shadows of the old Hanseatic houses, which have faced the marketplace for centuries. Among the famous sons of Bergen were Ole Bull, the great violinist, and Edvard Grieg, whose monument has been erected here to commemorate his immortal music. Music that tells the story of Norway beyond the power of words. Vying with Edvard Grieg was his contemporary, Johan Halvorsen, who reveals in his music the more rugged aspects of Norwegian scenery. From the terrace of a pretentious hotel at Stalheim, we look down upon one of the most picturesque valleys in the world. During the summer season, cows and goats are driven to the upland pastures by farm women, who settle down in huts for 2 or 3 months of butter and cheese making. Near the little town of Voss, we witness an old-fashioned country wedding, in which the bride and groom return from the church ceremony on horseback. This drinking receptacle, designed like a Viking boat and known as a schenke, contains a home-brewed beer, and it is said that the unusual custom of drinking from it dates back to the days of the ancient Vikings. And so life goes in Norway, where a very contented people have learned to live in harmony with Mother Nature, who has benevolently given to them one of the most beautiful countries in the world. And it is in this peaceful setting that we now conclude our impressions of Norway in VistaVision.